Hi, everyone. Great to be here again, weekly. I'm Alex. This is sponsored or part of Sun and Moon Yoga Studios offerings. I'm streaming out of my house. That's Rock the dog. You might see one of the cats or two of the cats. Get what you need for, as you can see today, if you're here regularly, I've spread out this blanket, which I'm going to have to shoo the dog away, to lie down and do some movement today. And then we will sit. We'll first, you know what? We'll get grounded in our laying down position. If you would prefer to be sitting, if you're in bed, that's fine. On your back, would be preferable. You could do this sitting in a comfortable chair if you like, if that's where you'd like to be, and then just once we finish with the movement, we'll go right into the meditation. So, thank you so much for being here with me. This practice is highly meaningful to my life in so many ways. One of the ways is the community, this particular aspect of the practice. And even when you are practicing on your own, when you're at home doing your sitting or your yoga or your movement or your breathing practices, um, we're we're never not in community. So you know that you might be familiar with that meditation app called Insight Timer, I think it is. I haven't used it in a long time, but one of its features, and it's got lots and lots of guidance on it now. Back when it started, I'm not sure that was there, but one of the features is it'll show you how many people are meditating using that app near you or all over the planet. I think you can check. And there's some kind of comfort in knowing and support in doing these things together. Inspiration as well. So, my talk today is titled Small Steps. That could always change, but that's the working title. Um, so, let's first get grounded, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that as we practice. Um, Imagine I'm lying on my back as I talk you through. So, you go ahead and lie on your back comfortably. Make sure the space that you're in is comfortable to be in temperature wise and to the degree possible that you won't be interrupted for this next 25 or so minutes together. So, as you lie down on your back and you just arrive, such a simple concept. You have already arrived, your body is right here, but it's very possible that your mind is flitting off into other directions. Let's intentionally bring our focus to how we feel the body lying against the ground. How you know through the body that you are here. And so you may feel the weight of your feet through the heels or through the soles if your knees are bent or you're sitting in a chair. You may feel parts of your legs either firmly touching or skimming the ground, or you sense that there's a certain distance, like if your knees are bent, that the back of the legs is from the ground. And so we're, in a sense, honing our focus to this interface of our body surface to the ground surface. And so we're meeting that first of my triad pointer to the portal of being here, ground, the one I usually go first. Ground, breath, sound. Any of those can come first. The way the pelvis meets the ground. And while I suggested that it's this surface to surface connection, we sense peripherally a little deeper into the body, right? You can sense just like peripheral vision, there's no effort, but it's hazier, but it's there while our focus is on that connection, that interface, body and ground. And that sensing goes farther away to where we're also hearing the sounds around us. We're sensing the temperature of the room. And then you might sense the lower back, the middle back and upper back, how they're in contact, supported. The landscape of the body you can feel is each place that touches is different. How it feels, how you know it, how clear it is to you. And this sensing, these small steps we're taking just to be with each part are integral to a bigger experience. But each small step in itself is also complete. And so you might sense how the shoulders or arms touch the ground. You might be surprised which parts are actually touching. And when you actually, in this moment, feel them, not it's interesting that the mind can project the memory or the idea of the contact, but the actual touch brings you right here. And then the head, how your head is touching the ground, weight of the head. And there's so much we know about our head, like the hardness of the skull that we kind of feel. We can feel it even if we touch our head. The the brain that's in there that we might not have ever seen our own brain, but maybe you have on certain imagery. Um, but we've seen what it is like for a human brain in illustrations and photos and books. Scalp. And then these sense gates, the ears, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, a rich area of sense gates on the head area. Then feel the entirety of yourself, your body, but without excluding your breathing, your mind, your heart, your experiences, your ideas. And let's begin. If your legs are straight out, bend them so the knees are bent and stand the feet. Just begin by lightly pushing both soles of the feet into the ground and then releasing. I'll join you for this. Pushing both feet into the ground, just momentarily, and then releasing. So if you're watching this video, which you might be, and that's fine, instead of doing it along or you get up to watch, you would hardly see what I'm doing. Such a small movement, a mini movement. And do stop all the way when you release the push. There's actually so much happening here. And we feel as we push the feet and legs that so much more of us is engaged. You may even feel some movement of course, in the legs and pelvis, but you may even feel something in the ribs and the shoulders, up into the head and into the spine, deep insides. And again, I invite you to make that full stop when you release the push and relax and let everything go back to inactive, and linger in those pauses between the action. Each time we return, each time we push again, and each time we release and come to stillness, and keep doing it. I'm going to make my way up. Each time is fresh. Each repetition is new. It's not just a repeating the same thing again and again. And this is important. It's again the small step of really being present with the small step. Okay, let that alone. Stretch your legs out if that's comfortable. If not, you can lean your knees against each other. If you're in a chair or on your bed, just stay where you are. Notice what is here for you. And then we'll modify this just a little bit. Bend your knees again. And this time, only press with the one leg. You choose, right or left. Press and release. The other leg could straighten if you prefer to do that. So a press, and you can press as hard as you like. You may feel that the hip of that leg wants to lift a little. It will lift, but it's not there's no need for the hip lipped to hip hip to lift very much at all. I meant to start with a bell. Start the meditation with a bell. And make sure again, when you release the push, you push with your foot and leg and feel how that activity is. So one of the benefits of these very small movements is it's just you can feel all the parts that need to engage or do engage. Not all of them need to, but they do for movement. And in the repetition, what we find actually it calls away what's not needed with each repetition when we're just present to how we do this and how we can make it easiest, lightest, harmonious, good feeling. We do away with the superfluous, and much easier to do when we're so fully supported than standing or sitting without support to your back. Let it alone. Stretch both legs out again and simply pause. Notice what sensations are here, what thoughts might come in, what images, or maybe what less is happening, and yet what more of the presence that you might feel. Notice breathing just as it is. And then other leg, so bend both knees, press with the sole of the foot into the ground, and you can do so very, very lightly actually, and then release fully and feel the whole flow of release through the body as the action is released. Press again. Release again. And then let it go and stretch everything out. We may have spent a little less time on this second side. And in my way of practice, it's fine because the body learned from the first side. There was communication across the midline of and the center of the brain communicated. And there was activity happening, even though different, complementary on both sides. And so, very slowly, if you would like to come to seated for meditation, for stillness and silence, do that gently, or you may choose to just stay where you are. And slowly, meaning just to not interrupt the change of brain activity. We're in a different brain state, brainwave state, once we quiet down and enter into our focus into the body to this degree without losing the sense of what's around us and receiving flow from the outside, perceptions that come from inside the body or brain, mind. And so before we start the actual stillness and silence, as you get yourself set up in the posture that works just right for you, um, so small steps. This getting quieter, this getting quieter, oops, um, helps us to get familiar with how safe we can feel and how fully we can be present, even if there's a lot going on that's pulling at our attention. And it allows us to get closer and closer, but at first it might need to be a bigger distance to things that are um, just throw us off balance, that take the rug out from under us. So things that make us trigger our anger or trigger great fear, anxiety. So, as in training my dog, you start with, so if there's reactivity about a certain other person or dog, we need to come in some kind of proximity to work with it, and yet it needs to be just where reactivity is very low, if at all, so that there's a feel of safety, a feel of just observing, a feel of acknowledging, and then slowly that can get closer and closer, and we can see more clearly, or we can engage, or and often that being with whatever the difficulty is, we start to, as we also relax and see our part in it, see more clearly the other, acknowledging all that sometimes unravels the difficulty by itself. Um, yeah, it's so I'm going to end that little idea with what my friend Andrea Kish, our yoga and meditation teacher, shared with me about how she'd very recently really profoundly got that idea of just be with it, which is, so it's suggested if there's some difficult emotional state, for example, to be with it. And it sounds so simple, and yet it can be. We have so many strategies to separate ourselves from, to run away from, or to suppress difficult states, which we just don't know how to be with. And actually, it's not that hard. It's actually quite simple. And yet it's difficult because of the patterns we have. But we practice these steps of getting quiet in our movement, being with ourselves in an easy way, and coming up this quiet stillness together. And so let's begin our stillness, about 8 minutes. Settle your seat, even if that is a lying down position. If you're sitting upright, take care of the posture. So you may have a certain positioning for the spine that allows ease, that allows the lower body to be the support and the upper body to rest on that support lightly, buoyed by just um, gravity, actually. So, first, a relaxing down and relax can be an operative word or guidance throughout this sit, this meditation. We can begin to just lightly be aware of the breath and to the greatest degree possible, gently, we can commit to stillness, which I didn't do just a moment ago as the hair on my face was just so hot. But I invite you to bear with discomforts that are really small enough. If there's one that's true, if there's something that's truly so agitating or hurtful, make space of it. Change something so that you're not so close, so that you just take small steps toward what might not be so easy to be with. The shoulders are positioned a certain way, arms, hands, eyes. There's nothing you need to do with the breath, but it's helpful to have that pretty close to the forefront, or to lean into the breath more when we feel it's difficult to be still, or any other mind challenge that may come. And we can be available to sound and all that's in the space around that connects us, the outer and the inner, so intimately. When you feel challenged, you might need to adjust how close you are to whatever it is you're challenged by. maybe you just first fully immerse in it, like a daydream that you've entered into. And the moment you come back, remember that that is waking up. You never actually were gone. The essence of you never not here. Relax as awareness. A few more breaths together. And now the transition from the end of this short practice. Part of your part of your being knows change is coming. Maybe you'll just sit longer after this, or lay down on the ground and do a little more practice. Or maybe you'll get on to the next all of your day. And this small step together that we do frequently adds up and enhances all the other parts of our interactions in life with a greater awareness of our self, of the big picture, of where support is. Thank you for joining me. And thank you, all of you who are here frequently, and any of you who are new. Please do check out our website, sunandmoonstudio.com. We'll have a grand opening celebration at our Fairfax studio in August. That should be coming up sometime soon. So keep looking at the website, and I'm sure you can sign up for an email that come about every 2 weeks from Annie. And yeah, take care. Pause, take small steps, back away if you need to. Ciao, ciao. See you next week.